Today we're going to finish up the story of our 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. When we left off on Monday, Lincoln had been elected as president, and during his time in office, our nation was at war, not with another country, but it was at war with itself. The southern states were fighting the northern states. God had prepared Lincoln for such a time as this, as his commitment to doing what was right was needed during this very, very difficult time for our country. I hope you were perhaps able to listen to the Gettysburg Address, which Lincoln gave on the battlefield in Virginia, where many men died fighting for freedom. So we're going to continue today and finish the story. Lincoln tried to make friends with the southern states and offered to buy the slaves' freedom instead of using the money for war. But the South wouldn't listen to him. So on New Year's Day in 1863, Lincoln solemnly signed a paper that made the slaves free forever. It was called the Emancipation Proclamation. Those are some big shun words there. Did you hear that? Emancipation Proclamation. That was a document that Abraham Lincoln signed that said that those people who had been held in slavery, they were now free. What a wonderful day. The Southerners, however, fought on. Although they had less and less to eat and had hardly any shoes to put on their feet. For several years, Lincoln sought all over the North for a general who could end the war. At last he found General Grant. He was straightforward and brave and did not waste his time just talking and writing. "Can you make an end to the war?" asked Lincoln. "If you give me enough soldiers, I will," said Grant. Once more Lincoln called for soldiers, and once again men came from all over the North, and Grant did as he had promised. He forced the Southern soldiers out of Richmond, the capital of the Confederacy. 4 years after the Civil War had begun, the Star-Spangled Banner waved over Virginia again. The next day, President Lincoln walked into the town holding little Tad by the hand. A former slave recognized the long, thin man with the tall stovepipe hat. "Here is our Savior," he cried, and threw himself at Lincoln's feet. But Lincoln said, "Don't kneel to me. You must kneel to God only and thank Him for your freedom." And shaking hands with the freed slaves, Lincoln was suddenly surrounded by crowds, tumbling and shouting, weeping and rejoicing. The Civil War had come to an end. The slaves were free, and the Union was saved. We were no longer divided states. We were once again a unified country. Most people in the northern states wanted to make the Southerners pay for the 4 terrible years of war, but Lincoln said they should be received back into the Union, with malice towards none, with charity to all. He felt like the father of a great flock of children. Some had run away, but were now returning to their home. He stood on a balcony of the White House, looking out over the cheering people who cried, "Speak, Father Abraham." Abraham Lincoln didn't answer with words, but he made the band play Dixie, the favorite song of the Southerners, which had not been heard in Washington since the Civil War began. Then he sat down in his rocking chair, to rest. He had done what he should do. He had freed the slaves and had held together the nation brought forth upon this continent by his forefathers. And that is the story of Abraham Lincoln.